What is good, people? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back. It is time for the cool down. Leeds United 2, Bournemouth 2, gutting to lose 2 points in a game where we were so close to taking all three. We're going to get into Daniel Farke's comments and see what he thought about the game. Do you agree, disagree with his comments? Let me know in the comment section. And before I continue, please like the video, people. It's free to do, helps out the channel immensely. And big up to everyone that likes the video without the need for prompt, but sometimes it just needs reminders. So please do that to help out the content. And listen, let's get into it, because Iraola and Farke both spoke, and I heard both managers speak for full context. But Iraola was full of praise for Leeds' work rate. As Beran says here, he prides his Bournemouth team on their running physicality, but accepts Leeds were better. And we were better. You know, in terms of the work rate, we were better. But it just shows you the levels that you need to get to in order to get the 3 points, even against a team like Bournemouth, who are still a good team, by the way. But you know, they're not the tippy top of the Premier League. And it just shows you just the margins for error are just so short. And that's why I always say the difference between the Championship and Premier League, it's not even close anymore. And in the Championship, we win that game probably 3-1. You know, we probably come away with a 3-1 win in the way that the game was. But unfortunately, when you're up against a team like Bournemouth with a coach like Iraola, it isn't over until that final whistle goes. And obviously that's down to the players, but also the manager as well, with some of the changes that he made. So let's hear from Farke and his viewpoint. He said it was a valuable and good point. If you concede late, deserving to win, it doesn't feel great. But from Monday on, we move on to make sure we deliver that performance again. Another 19 shots, one team missing big chances, and that was Leeds United. Now, the only thing I'd say there is, yeah, that performance, but not over and over again, because that means we're going to be conceding late. So, I get the context of what he's saying. But yeah, it was a good performance for the most part, but you can't come away with that kind of performance and concede 2 goals, at home. And listen, another positive as well, by the way, is that's another game under our belt under Ellen Road unbeaten. I think that now stretches over a year, which is great at any level. So big up to the boys for that. Organization, desire to block passes, details, unnecessary sloppy touch to give away a late free kick, dropped too deep on free kick and didn't drop for the second ball. Heartbreaking. This is what happens at the top level. Teams punish very little, and that's what I said in the match reaction. You just get punished for any little mistake, it feels like, at this level. The one thing I will say is, though, drop too deep on the free kick and didn't drop for the second ball. I mentioned that as well, in terms of why were most of our players on the edge of the box, leaving 2 Sunderland players against Ampadu, who did lose his marker, but there was 2 of their players to 1 Ampadu. I don't know why that happened. And it also goes to the point about set piece coaches. I know he doesn't think it's a big deal, but it's not just about scoring goals. It's about defending them as well. They do both. And you just think, look, it's all ifs and buts. But if you have a specialist set piece coach, is there a different organization method that happens for that scenario, for that scenario in that play? You just don't know, do you? But yeah, it's unfortunate, because it was sloppy and it was a really poor goal to give away. But yeah, it does happen at the top level, and it's something we're going to have to cut out if you want to climb the table and stay above that dreaded drop zone. He'd not seen any teams reduce Bournemouth to so little. Kind of sounds like a little Mikel Arteta-ish here about Man City, about he's never seen Man City reduced to so little for a draw. So we want to try and avoid that one. Dominic Leary scores from these situations. Excellent performance, great workload for the team. On a good day, he scores 2 or 3, but this is the fate of the strikers. Sometimes you get an excellent goal like last weekend and then miss these opportunities. See, I'm always going to push back on things like this, because I know what he's talking about in terms of Calvert-Lewin, and I get what most people are saying. In the second half, he was winning all the aerial battles and everything else like that. That's all well and good, but in that case, why not just put a centre half up front if you want to do that? As a striker, for me, your primary thing is to score goals, and the game state, if he scores in that opening 30 seconds, is completely different. Completely different. Now, I don't know if we go on to win, but it's a completely different game if he gets that opening goal, and even the second one as well, or even the third, the third opportunity he had. So it's all well and good doing this, but you're almost teetering on the whole thing of you going, and I don't want to mention his name again, but you have to, if when Bamford doesn't score in how many games, but his hold-up play is really good, you don't want to be going into that. So Dominic needs to dust this one off, go again, and hopefully net against Spurs, or at least be a bit more influential in terms of in terms of getting a goal, maybe an assist, whatever, a goal involvement. But you don't want to just keep on going, oh, he held up the ball well today. We need our strikers to score. we need our strikers to score goals. So that's going to be important. But yeah, overall, I get it. It was a good performance, but the main thing is scoring a goal for me as a striker. It's not about talking. A leader is what, and this is about Sean Longstaff. A leader is what you do on the pitch, and your behavior is walking the walk, win a tackle, duel, get the lads going, build confidence, keep the ball in difficult situation. Sean leads by example, and it does sound like Farke's, getting a liking to Sean Longstaff here, which is making me think he won't see the bench. But even I had Sean Longstaff, as many people were surprised, as my man of the match. I thought this was the best game. All the running around thing, that doesn't impress me. But when you're doing things with the ball and making a positive, influence in terms of changing the game, whether it be your set piece deliveries that found Rodent about 6 times in the game, whether it's you scoring a goal, being influential like that, that's what gets me going. Not running around and getting your heat map up. That does nothing for me. So more like that from Sean Longstaff. That is his best performance for me easily. It's not even close either. That was a great performance by Sean, and long may it continue, because for me, he doesn't come out against Tottenham, and we'll speak about it next week, but he does not come out against Tottenham. Not for me. We've got to keep him in, and it does sound like Farke will be keeping him in regardless. In 3 home games, struggling to think of chances for the opponent. We've shown we always have a chance to fight home for the points. In this atmosphere, it is difficult for the opponent. Everyone is fighting for everything, and we have unity with the supporters. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say, again, is nitpicking, but struggling to think of chances for the opponent, but they scored 2 goals. But I get what he's saying in terms of open play, not being carved open so many times. I completely get that. But yeah, it's all about the game state. Now, what I want to say is, because a lot of people are saying about Daniel Farke, he's essentially lost the game because of the changes. I'll say this: the changes were probably incorrect, but a manager being 2-1 up and trying to see out a game at home for, like, say, the last 10 minutes is not unusual, but he did it a little bit too early for me. And of course, the changes do not help. You don't change. You don't put Metron in a defensive free kick situation. You don't. Even watching the Forest Sunderland game, Ange he wanted to take off Chris Wood, I think, but they were defending the corner, so he left it until the next break in play. That's what you do. You don't take off a player in that situation like that, unless it's your centre back. And that's one thing I will aim at him in terms of that. Don't blame him for trying to see out a 2-1 victory. Every manager would do that. But if you're going to make the change, bring on Biol. He's there. There's a reason why we took so long to sign him. There's a reason why we spent so much money on him compared to what we spent this summer. He would have been the perfect guy to bring on in that scenario when you're against a defensive free kick. You bring on Biol. And for me, that's just simple stuff. But he didn't do that. I hope that he does look at that and think, I could have done that better. But, if there's one thing with Farke, he's a very stubborn man, and he probably won't see it that way. But it does seem like it would have been the easy thing just to do. If you're going to take off DCL, bring on Biol in his place. One thing he did say as well, was he did have a little complaint about the referee, which you guys know I don't like unless it's like something really egregious, like if you've got an unjust red card or something like that. But he did say it was the softest free kick given this weekend. Well, the Forest Sunderland referee said, "Hold my beer," because I actually think that Forest were harder done by than we were. With Stacks, foul, they definitely got done dirty in this game. But look, you see in this result there, Sunderland got the 3 points. It's a brilliant away performance by Sunderland again. And it just shows you. And by the way, when you look at what Sunderland were bringing off the bench, and then you see what we were doing in terms of Harrison and Metcha coming on, oh boy, like, we are going to have to grind, people. We know this, though. We're going to have to grind this season. But I'm just saying, in terms of Farke, you said it was the softest free kick this weekend. I think Forest have got us beat. But look, people, what we can't do is dwell on this. We've got Tottenham next, and we've got to try and get 3 points. Why not? Why not? No one thought we were really going to get anything against Bournemouth a few weeks ago. Why not try and get something against Tottenham? There's ways of doing it, of course, but Thomas Frank has got them way better organized than what Ange did previously. Even though Ange did win him a trophy, but talking league form, there are ways to do it. But what we've got to do is concentrate until the whistle blows. That has to be vital. But Farke himself as well has to make the right changes, man. And if Tanaka isn't fully fit, leave him off the pitch. Give him another week of training. You know, was DJ even fit to even come off the bench, you know, this weekend? Who knows? But there were changes that you could have made that could have probably seen us with a 2-1 victory, but it's gone. We got a point in the bag. Let's see what we can do against Tottenham. But listen, people, give me your thoughts. If you've got any additional thoughts, even if you haven't, give me your thoughts again in regards to the game. And I'll see you in the next video, people. Like the video before you go. Peace out.